Well, unfortunately, the San Jose Sharks fall victim to the New York Rangers once again, but this time at a score of 3-0. But we do have happier things to talk about, such as the All-Star himself, Timo Meier. We will be talking about all that and more on this edition of After Dark. But first, if you want to be a part of the show, please go ahead and check us out on all of the social media. That would be on the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, YouTube chat, of course, SoundCloud. You got the Reddit, and then all of the shenanigans that go on in the Discord. Check out all of that and some great articles, too, up on tealtownusa.com. I'm joined by a two-man crew on top of the host, so we got a three-way going. Al Martinet and Ian Blogs Hockey. Al, first off, it's good to have you, bud. I know that this one is going to be one of your last shows for a little while whilst you get everything sorted out in your new digs.
Yeah, I guess I should just get into it. I am moving to Atlanta next week, so this will be me for a little bit. Not a goodbye, just a little hiatus. But yeah.
Are you going to bring back the Thrashers? Is that why you're going?
That is the main goal right now.
Okay.
Is the undercover project is to essentially bring back the Thrashers and have them be competitive for once.
Ooh, tall order. And
yeah.
Ian, how you doing this evening?
I'm all right. I think if you were looking for a late night three-way, this is probably not what you had in mind. But hopefully we'll entertain nonetheless.
Al, I think I don't know if I can speak for the majority of Sharks fans, but it's not fun to not score. Like, what is going on?
I'm getting flashbacks to that road Detroit game when where Detroit just scored 2 goals against us on our own power play.
Oh, I know, and I guess we'll get it off. I guess going off the start, because let's talk about first the Sharks start, because I thought the Sharks started pretty well. I thought maybe the first shift or two you could start to see a little bit of the New York dominance, but I think once they got their feet under them, and I think once they started getting adapted to the play, the pace of play, the Sharks did pretty well, and I felt that they pushed a lot towards the Rangers, but were getting Igor Shesterkin in that first half of that first period. What did you see in with regards to the period and just the way Shesterkin came out and kind of did what he did last time?
Yeah, I mean, Igor Shesterkin is probably one of the best goalies in the league. I think I would probably say top 3, but easily top 5. Like I think you would have a hard time naming 5 better goalies than Shesterkin. It's funny because overall, I thought the Sharks played the best was the second, and that was the one they got outshot.
Yep.
So that, curious that, but I overall, I'm not really upset at the effort tonight. Like, I think the effort was there. I think Shesterkin stood on his head. And look at the defense. The Rangers' defense helps them out a lot. They blocked a lot of shots. So it's hard when you have to get through the defense before you even get to a really good goalie like Shesterkin. It makes it for a tough night for a team where offense has been an issue.
Yeah, and I think that the Sharks have kind of gotten back into that defensive-minded and defensive style, so we're not going to see them, scoring, at the pace that they were, in the prior 3 or 4 games. But Chris Kreider, we won't bear the lead any longer. Chris Kreider, 22nd goal on the year. Mika Zibanejad and Adam Fox with the assists. And this one hurts because this is a shorty, and the Sharks had really pushed play and had really earned a good penalty in the offensive zone. And unfortunately, a puck gets by Carlson on the power play, and you've got I think it's Dahlin tracking back. Was it Burns or was it Carlson? I thought it was Carlson.
I don't know. I
Yeah, I
just
don't know.
remember it being it's a save you need. That Indy wants to make a save there.
Yeah,
And then this is the second straight game where he lets in an easy one that was pretty unexcusable.
Yeah, and I think there's multiple parts to this. So breaking it down, I think for me, it's keeping the puck on the blue line, especially on the power play, especially when if you're the defensive, player in that spot. You got to realize that you've got a winger as your D partner essentially on the back end, and he's not going to be defensively responsible and not be in the position that a normal defenseman would be in. So, it kind of starts from there, right? Once they poke the puck past him and it becomes a 2-on-1, you're left kind of at the mercy of either the pass or the shot. Hill gets into position, makes the initial save, but it goes through the wickets, as Doc Emmerich would say, right? So,
yeah,
it's unfortunate, and I think that again, the power play has had a lot of issues this year, a lot of issues keeping the puck out of their own net. That's the 6th shorthanded goal given up this season, and I don't know what mountaintop we got to yell down at from Ian, but the power play woes continue, and I'm just not understanding. Is it a personnel thing? Is it a deployment thing? Or is it an all of the above thing?
I think it's a little from column A, a little from column B.
Yeah.
I don't think it's. I think some of it's system, some of it is deployment, but also, I mean, we just got a lot of guys that aren't putting the puck in the net, and it's it's getting frustrating now because I mean, there's probably guys who probably on the Barracuda that maybe should get a shot. I'm not the right guy to ask that because I haven't really paid attention to the Barracuda this year. But shouldn't the Noah Gregor experiment be over now?
Yeah,
I thought he's been good, but he's just been inconsistent. And maybe he's not
like Balcers, right? Like he's in the right place, he's doing all the right things, but if the puck doesn't go in the net, we got to find guys that can put the puck in the net if they're gonna stick in the top 6.
Yeah, and for me as well tonight, I think highlighting another issue. I mean, I thought that Nick Bonino had a couple of open net looks. He got that one open net look and just was not expecting Ryan Merkley to put it near his stick on the latter part of that power play, and he just was not able to bury that. And again, it's like this malaise goes over the team as soon as they get an extra guy, and it's like, I don't know if it's they stop putting out the effort, or if it's a mental thing where they kind of just turn off and go pure into offensive mode. But whatever it is, it's got to be addressed. And again,
yeah, like for me, like the biggest issue is they don't really have a second, option. Like when you look at the teams like the Capitals, even like the Pittsburgh Penguins, they do have like a triangle power play where they use the back of the net to create more space, and they have 3 options available at all times. But with the Sharks power play, it's just, the shot from the point, the shot from Erik Karlsson. And, I was really excited like the start of the season when they were actually carrying most of it through the forwards. But now it's kind of resorted back to their old bad habits of giving it to Brent Burns, who, give him a lot of credit. He's a Norris winner, but like, he's definitely not the same player that he was, let alone 2 years ago.
Brett makes a really good point in the chat here, like, because I think that's the apt comparison. He made like the perfect comparison. Noah Gregor reminds me a lot of Jonas Donskoi.
Yeah, or Torrey Mitchell.
But we just haven't seen the goal scoring, right? Like, because when Donskoi is cold, dear God, like you can put him with whoever you want and he's just ice cold. But if he can get going, the difference is obviously, as we've seen, Donskoi can score goals at an NHL level. We haven't seen that from Noah Gregor yet, but I think the comparison's apt for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's a good comp. And again, I think we saw a lot of shots on goal from Gregor today, and I thought
Mhm.
that he was putting himself in a position to score. But again, if you're going to continue
Right.
to get these opportunities and not be able to score, I think that kind of
But
starts to tell
I feel
you
like we've said
what
the
you need to
same thing
know.
about Balsers all year too, though, right?
Yeah.
Like this is the problem. Like, so it's not like I'm not like super like, oh, Noah Gregor, let's, send him to the ECHL and never see him again. I just wonder if, maybe you bring another guy up and see if you can spark something, maybe give a guy like John Leonard a shot or a Joachim Blickfeld. And again, I haven't watched enough Barracuda to say who for sure should be up. I just wonder if one of those guys, maybe succeeds in that spot where some of these guys aren't.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think again, it's how many of these chances can you give to these players that for all we know could be quadruple A kind of players, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's unfortunate, and you're wanting to see more production from the CUDA players at this point. One guy that I was very, very pleasantly surprised to see play a very good game was Ryan Merkley. Another guy that again was inserted kind of out of desperation, but now seems to be playing his way into a spot. And I thought he was breaking the puck out very, very efficiently tonight. I thought his skating was on full display. I like the little bit of gusto and the confidence that he's playing with right now. But Al, I mean, what are you seeing from Ryan Merkley that's kind of making his game work and could keep him up here?
I mean, he does have a lot of great offense for his game. I think his defense has improved from last year just a little bit. But I think when it comes to inserting Ryan Merkley, you're essentially putting 3 offensive defensemen in your lineup, and that can be a burden right now. And we've seen it work, but against good teams like the Rangers, who I think are probably one of top 3, top 4 teams in the East in terms of talent wise. Yeah, like good teams will eventually break down just offensive talent. And I think Ryan Merkley does have that ability, but I think it's probably going to show more next year when the Sharks try to find a way to get rid of Simic and see what happens with I think they'll probably keep Middleton, but we'll see what happens with those two.
Yeah. And Ian, I mean, same question. I mean, what are you seeing now in Ryan Merkley's game that has been able to sustain him up here versus the cup of coffee it seems like he was getting, well, once last year, but earlier on in this season?
I think the thing that I like the most about Ryan Merkley's game is he's playing with a lot of confidence. Being the style of defenseman he is, being an more offensive-minded defenseman, he's another guy who, you're never gonna mistake for a defensive stalwart. But I really like the jam in his game because it would be really easy for Ryan Merkley to try and change his game to a more, to try and be more defensive and get away from his game to try and impress the coaching staff and stay on the team, right? But he's playing his game. And I think that's the thing that I like the most is that he's not trying to alter his game too much to hold down a spot. He's going to play his game. And if his game doesn't work, then he's fine. He'll go back to the Barracuda again. But I like that he's playing his game. And honestly, like I agree with that. Like obviously like 3 offensive defensemen with the defensive defenseman that we have probably is going to get you in problems more often than not. But I don't know. I mean, the guys that are coughing up the puck aren't the rookies.
Yeah, that's a bigger issue.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, are we seeing more of a similar type of coaching style as to what we saw with Peter DeBoer, right? Where you've got this short leash with the rookies, and, when they start to falter a little bit, they kind of get the rug pulled out from underneath them.
I think that's every NHL coach. Like,
yeah,
that's every NHL coach. Let's be honest.
I think there's more also leeway because, like, again, we just talked about Noah Gregor. Like, he's been getting plenty of reps, and I think he will eventually become more consistent. And I think, the Sharks organization from the front office has kind of realized that this is not like a top 5 team, a Stanley Cup team.
Yeah.
This is very much a middle in the pack team, 500 team for most of the year. So I think if you keep your expectations low, I think they're doing that right.
Yeah. Well, the Sharks would end that period down 1-0, but going into the second period, I thought that they came out with a lot of snarl, and I thought that we saw a lot of just kind of like that piss and vinegar game that we like to see, especially from Timo and especially from Viel. Viel taking the mitts with Trouba after Timo going and really just being aggressive and kind of staking out his own piece of the ice and not letting Trouba push him around. But man, Viel held himself very well. He gives up at least 3 or 4 inches to Trouba, and I thought that was going to be a turning point in the game because it sure felt like the team responded after that. But I guess, Al, what's your opinion on what Viel is bringing to the team, and what are you seeing when he kind of brings the team in from a physical standpoint, how it affects their game?
I mean, he is a third or fourth liner, but from that standpoint, he's been doing a lot of great things just in terms of offensive consistency. And I really didn't really expect him to get into a fight with Jonathan Trouba, or Jacob Trouba, excuse me. But man, just be that consistent third or fourth line player and work your way up. He's definitely I think he's earned his spot for maybe the rest of the year going forward, and it's going to be interesting to see what the Sharks do at the trade deadline. But I think Viel is a person you can definitely plug in and play without even thinking about it.
Yeah, and Ian, same question. I mean, what do you see from Viel that has made his game really adapt well to the NHL?
I think he's he's a serviceable guy, right? Like, he doesn't have to be an every night guy, but he's got a lot of snarl. He's always had a lot of snarl in his game. He's always been a guy who's not going back to his junior days, like he would fight guys that were bigger than him all the time. I think the only real issue I have is when you double up guys like Viel with guys like Gadjevich. Rask is more of a pest than an enforcer, so I don't mind that combination. But
yeah,
when you have Viel and Gadjevich in the line, that's where I start getting annoyed, because I feel look, Bob's gonna dress one of these guys. It's gonna happen. In my opinion, that guy, I would rather be Viel over Gadjevich. And I think Rask, I've liked a lot of Raska's game, but I don't know. Again, it's not, I think Rask is a guy where if Viel goes down, then you bring him up. But once the Sharks get healthy, I'm looking forward to seeing less enforcer line.
So we got some really good material coming in from the Teal Town USA account, and I think that's AJ manning it. Appreciate it, AJ. So the first one coming up is Timo has brought in and has gotten success. It's nice to see Timo has bought in, has gotten success. It's nice to see. He's put a lot of work in, per Bob Bugner. The next one, we've asked Hill to give us a chance to win every night, and I think he's done that. Poised, calm. We need to get some offense for him. And we also got kind of Laurel backing that up too. San Jose Sharks, Aiden Hill finishes the season with a 947 save percentage in 2 games against the Rangers, but has 2 losses to show for it. SJ shut out in both games. And no messages being sent, and situations dictate time on ice. Bugner on Vlasic playing less than 12 minutes during the last 2 games. We also got, I felt good tonight. Bugner was good with my usage from Bonino. And let's go with the last one here from Bonino. I think we deserved a little bit better as a team tonight. Shesterkin is really good. Shut twice this year. We had some grade A looks, but he was never caught out of position. Yeah, I mean, the goaltending, I think, has been the story between both games. I think both New York goaltenders have played very well. But I also think that the Sharks, somebody else brought that up in the chat too, and I think it was William, so appreciate it, William, for the comments here. Do you guys feel this is kind of a reactionary take, or do we think that this team is easily frustrated, and it seems like every iteration of the team seems to get frustrated when it's not able to score? And I don't know if that's maybe just a universal hockey thing, but yeah, they did seem a little pissy in that second period. What's your thoughts, Al?
Oh, go ahead, Ian. If you
I
want
was
to
gonna say, I mean, they got. I thought the Rangers kind of started taking a few liberties with the Sharks in the second period, which is always going to get people riled up. I don't know if it was just like, I mean, this Rangers team is really good.
Yeah.
And I don't think, based on previous Rangers team, I don't think people realize how good this Rangers team is. This isn't last year's Rangers or the years before. This isn't, sucking up all the lottery balls Rangers. This Rangers team's really good this year. I think that is frustrating when you can't get things going and you can't get shots through to Shesterkin, and the ones that you do get through, he stops. Like, yeah, I'm sure there's definitely an element of emotion there, but I don't know. I didn't think that I don't think the Sharks deviated from their game tonight. They just got beat by a better team.
Yeah, for me, like, the biggest issue is they just haven't been consistent enough. Like, even against Detroit last game, it was 2-1 Detroit because Adin Hill let in a softie. And, like, even I have to imagine that, like, even though you've carried most of the first, and I would say, if you want to agree with me, the second period, because of just the amount of effort, like, the effort was there and they weren't getting the results. And, we haven't seen them go on long stretches since the opening of the first 5 or 6 games of the season. So it's been a while since, a lot of things have happened because of COVID, yada, yada, yada. But, like, again.
No, I think what you're getting at, Al, is that the effort hasn't. I mean, yes, it has ebbed and flowed, and it does ebb and flow through a season, but there hasn't been prolonged stretches where we can say this team is not putting in the effort. But I think what we can say, though, is that it has been inconsistent on execution. And I think execution, and that also might be partly due to a lack of talent. You're missing out of a roster that's supposed to have a $7 million player on it. You're missing that player, and it looks like a team that's missing that player and still hasn't been addressed. And I don't know that it will be, because I don't know that this iteration, where it's at yet. And yeah, I think it's a little frustrating because, again, you're setting yourself up to win a lot of these games. You held the Rangers to basically 1-0 through 2 periods, and you take that against this kind of New York Rangers team. But I think the game just flat out changed once that that second goal was scored by the New York Rangers in the third period. And Brendan Schneider with his first goal, Strome and Cheadle with the assists, and it comes 1 minute and 27 seconds in. And I know that we always talk about the first 2 minutes of a period and the last 2 minutes of a period being backbreakers. Ian, did you see any kind of letdown, or in my case, I almost saw something else. I saw them push the gas a little bit more at that point. What did you see?
Yeah, no, I think, like, again, I thought this game was incredibly entertaining for how low scoring it was. And I want to address something in the chat too, because I think as much as I didn't like the first goal that Adin Hill let in, he played a good game. He gave them, he kept them in it. He gave them a chance to win this game. And I think he's done respectable in net, in relief of James Reimer, who obviously can't play. I think Adin Hill's he's played fine. There's specific goals where you probably think that he'd probably want it back, but overall, I think he's been fine. So I don't want people in the chat to feel like we're being overly critical of Hill here, because I don't think that's the case. I think he's given them a chance to win hockey games.
He's been better since Reimer he didn't go down, but since he stepped into that role.
Yeah. And I mean, tonight, again, if he had gotten some run support a little bit earlier, I think that the complexion of the game would be different. And I also think that, at the end of the night, it was a 2-0 game in a manned goal. You know what I mean? You kept them to 2, and for the most part, that's what you're asking for your goaltender. Keep it under 2. And so I think, he did put them in a position to win. It was unfortunate that the goal that he let in was a softie.
But it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Exactly. And so I don't think we can take away that it was a goaltending thing. I think we can take away that when the Sharks lack execution, there is little margin of error for their game. I think that goes to show, this game in particular goes to show that they play one certain way or a particular set of style. They can maybe adjust on the edges of that. But if they, meet a team that's mojo is able to, override them, I think that there's not enough there for them to adapt to. And I think we see that in the lack of execution or the lack of scoring. And
I think it's a lack of preparation to a point too, because I think if you've watched the Rangers any other time this season, their counterpunch, they've dined out on their counterpunch all year.
Yeah, that's a good point. Al, I mean, what are you seeing? Are you seeing it being a structure thing with the Sharks not being able to adjust, or do you just see it as a, this New York Rangers team is a juggernaut right now?
I mean, it's both. I mean, the Rangers are a really good team, and I assume they're going to make it into the first or second round this year. But in terms of just the pure talent, we knew going in that the Sharks' forward depth was an issue, and their scoring was going to be an issue, and that was before Kane had his saga and all that. Let's just leave it at that. And yeah, I think they've gotten more production. At least in my opinion, I think they got more production out of the third and fourth lines than they've ever had. But you've had Couture, who I think has been really hit and miss this season. Hertl, who's actually done really well, and I'm surprised he didn't get an All-Star nod.
We will get to that.
But when you're when it's really just been your big two, and your 11.5 defenseman hasn't really been carrying his load, it shows on ice. And I think Burns has been great, but the other issue is just the forward depth and the amount of scoring you're going to get from that is going to put a serious stress on your goaltending, which has been really good compared to last year. Last year, everything was a train wreck.
Yeah,
I don't know. See, I disagree a little bit there. I think if defensively, offensively, I think both defensemen have been fine. Burns and Karlsson have both put up a decent number of points this year, considering a forward group that can't finish.
Yes.
I feel like defensively, though, I've been more concerned about Burns' game defensively than I have about Erik Karlsson this year.
No, I think it's been fine with Burns. I know there's been he still does the starfish pose a lot. When you watched the Detroit game last night, where he was just being offensively creative. I think his offensive abilities still balance out his defense woes a lot more than. I think he's been way more consistent compared to Erik Karlsson. So that's just been my thinking on him. And it's been a long time since, Ferraro has been with Burns. So it's, when those two are together, it kind of solidifies the rest of the D pairs.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ferraro and Burns being, the established number one pair kind of sets up everybody else, right? But I think I know what Ian is saying. It seems like Burns is taking more risks now than he has before he's almost like he's cheating a little bit more for offense, because we are seeing a lot more 2-on-1s when he's on the ice. And I think that's an apt point. But I think that we also have to say, well, with prior to this game, the prior 2 games, he had 6 assists in 2 games. So Burns taketh away, as Chris JWS always used to like to say. So, yeah, and again, it's going to ebb and flow, and I think that Burns has kind of always been a special animal in his own zone, I don't know, it maybe like a sloth or something. I don't know what you would want to call him in his own zone, but it's definitely not pretty. And to your guys' point before about the goaltending, right now,
I mean, points wise, just like the difference between points between the two, though, is 26-22 with Brent in favor of Brent Burns, but Brent Burns has also played 8 more games. So I feel like defensively, like they're pretty similar.
Yeah, and AJ, I think what Al was trying to say was it's been a long time since that pair had been established. They've been playing a long time, especially this season. So I think that was just a misspeak. But back to the goaltending, 916 for Reimer on the year save percentage and 905 for Hill. 2.77 goals against for Hill and 2.68 for James Reimer. So I think at this point last season, Jones had already well been under 900. And I think in general, the goaltending has kept them in a lot more games. But that being said, the team needs to score for them, and they get a late power play in that third period. They looked pretty dangerous on it, but once they pulled the goaltender with that sixth forward on the ice, I thought it started to lose a little bit of urgency again. It looked like people were kind of standing still, and I'm not sure what that is exactly. But I mean, Al, what did you see from the extra man attack, and just again, we didn't see the execution on the power play.
I mean, it's 6-on-4, which means like you don't have a lot of space on the ice, so eventually you're going to have a puck that just falls right in the lap for the Rangers. That's kind of like the biggest liability of pulling the goalie. And like in terms of urgency, you're still down 2, so you're gonna have to score right there, get the puck, and then get one real fast. I think they kind of knew it wasn't their night. 5 minutes to the closing bell, but yeah.
Ian, I mean, same thing. I mean, did you see any kind of letdown because of the score and because of just Shesterkin like wall?
I mean, I thought the Rangers power play I thought their penalty kill was really good. They're really good again at counterpunching on the kill, which sometimes the best defense is a good offense, and they do a really good job of punching back and taking pucks the other way when they're shorthanded. This is also the 3rd best penalty kill in the league, so it's not, I don't think what happened tonight was by accident.
Yeah, and I think again though we're highlighting special teams, and the Sharks are not only going 0 on the power play, but they're actually a negative. They're a -1 on the power play, and it's just you just want a power play that will come through in the clutch. Maybe it's not humming on at like 25%, but if you're at a consistent 20, 19% or whatever, but it's clutch and it's able to provide in those critical types of times in a game, that's to me the hallmark of a good power play. And right now we're seeing neither. We're seeing
yeah, I mean, and also, but they have made, like, it's not like they're not trying different things.
Yeah,
and different things obviously are gonna have hiccups along the way, right? Like adding Ryan Merkley to the power play. Like, I think that's a great move, and they should have done it sooner. But it's that's gonna have time for those units to kind of gel back together again too. So it's one of those things where it's nice when it's going and you don't have to mess with it, but when it's not going and you do have to mess with it, that sometimes is going to lead to its own growing pains.
Yeah.
Dana. Oh my goodness, that was a good one. Do the NHL rules allow you to decline a power play asking for a friend?
It's getting to that point.
Yeah, he's not wrong. Well, the Rangers would add an empty net goal on the Shark. Luckily, it wasn't on the power play or in 2 shorties, but they ended up getting the empty net with. Oh,
I'm surprised they didn't pull Hill sooner, honestly.
19 coming with 28 seconds left on the period. Chris Kreider is 23rd with Rooney getting the assist there. But yeah, interesting call not to pull Reimer earlier, or excuse me, Aiden Hill. Sorry, slip of the tongue. Hill maybe as the power play started, and they got a little bit more possession down in the zone. Ian, I'm guessing you're on similar wavelengths there, pulling the goalie with the full 2 minutes.
I mean, I understand wanting to get possession and whatnot to get in the zone, but they had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
They had nothing to lose at that point. You're down by 2. I mean, either you get a goal or, you get a goal and you try to, take a timeout and get another one quick, or you let one in and the game's over. Game was over anyway. So I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Al, pretty much same feel for you?
Yeah, I mean, they tried their best, but what are you going to do? Vegas can only happen 1 or 2 times. So, yeah.
Well, the Sharks would end up losing that to a final 3-0. Shots on goal, 37 shots on goal for the Sharks, 31 shots for the Rangers. Face-off percentage was 51% in favor of the Sharks. Sharks go 0 for 2, but had that shorty, 9 PIMs, 11 hits, 11 blocks, and 9 giveaways for the Sharks. The Rangers on the other side of the stat line, 31 shots on goal, 49% in the face-off, 21 hits, 14 blocks. It seemed like it was more blocks than that, and 6 giveaways. And your 3 stars of the game tonight were Igor Shesterkin coming in number 1, Adam Fox number 2, and Mika Zibanejad coming in number 3. And I guess we won't bury the lead any longer, because I think on a more happier news, Timo Meier, great all-star nod. We kind of had the feeling it was going to be him or Hertl. But interesting call, Ian. What are you thinking there on the all-star nod and the lack of the invitation to Hertl?
It's a tough call. I think it's a tough call, but if you look at Timo Meier's leading the team in points. So, yeah. I mean, to me, you're going to take a guy. Timo Meier plus minus isn't a great stat, but Timo Meier's plus 11.
Yeah.
So on a team that's hemorrhaged goals, to be that far in the positives for plus minus, I'm sure reflected well. And look, I mean, 39 points. Great season he's having so far.
I think this has been a bounce back season from compared to last year, where he just wasn't consistent enough. And I think Hertl's been great too, but I think he's just been a little bit more sharper throughout the regular season so far.
Yeah, because Hertl had that little bit of a dip right at the Christmas break, with the whole COVID thing and everything going on. So, and that being said, Meier also had a COVID break too, and really has just lit fire to gasoline after he got back from the break. And
Timo Meier is also the only Shark that's averaging more than a point a game,
and leading the league in 5-on-5 points. So Timo is having just a hell of a season. So kind of feathering into that then with both Timo and with Hertl, both having good seasons. Now we're starting to get a few New York Ranger fans in the chat, and we appreciate it and we welcome you. But I guess let's talk about a little bit about the Hertl to New York rumors. We had Pierre LeBrun come out today saying that there's interest from the New York side on Tomas Hertl. Of course, LeBrun is thinking that the Sharks will make an attempt to sign. He's still firmly in belief that that's option A. But he would not be surprised if the New York Rangers come in swinging for a Tomas Hertl. Ian, we've talked about Tomas, and we've talked about how the New York Rangers seem to be a logical fit if he is not going to sign and re-up here. Mm-hmm. What do you think it's going to take to get Hertl out of San Jose to New York?
See, I don't know. I'd have to go look into think. Because my opinion, and I've said this, many times, you're giving a first, and you're giving up, you're giving an A+ prospect up.
Yep.
Right. And I feel like the Rangers are pretty flush with look at the Rangers have had a tough go of it before this year, so they've definitely got a system full of guys that the Sharks would probably be interested. I don't have a specific guy off the top of my head that I'd go. I'd have to do a little bit digging deeper, and then you probably throw in another conditional pick based on if he's a rental or if he resigns, right?
Or cup winner, right?
Oh yeah, or you could also do stuff like that too. But but I think I like the Rangers team this year, and I like what they've done. But I still, there's still a lot of there's a good mix of youth, but there's still youth on this team, right? And you wonder if they're going to need to get their nose bloody a little bit first before they're like a Stanley Cup contender. I don't put them in that tier yet, although you add Hertl to that team, and I think that would change my mind.
Yeah,
I like
think so too.
I like the way the Rangers look. I think, but yeah, it's Hertl's not going to come cheap. So I think there's definitely it's a first. It's an A+ prospect. It's probably another conditional pick that could go up to a first.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely looking for something like that. But where I kind of stand on Hertl is you definitely re-sign him if it's still in the $8 million to $9 million range. If he asks way more for that, then it's time to just let him walk. You can't. The Sharks are in no form of like letting him or signing another player at $10 million. Like that's just not possible right now.
Plus, it would also upset the forward, the forward dynamics, right? Because if Logan is going to be the captain and earning the top salary or whatever, there is that whole.
I mean, I don't think that really plays into it. I think like Couture signed his contract when he did. That was years ago at this point. It's really just, if that was the case, Erik Karlsson should be the captain, right?
True that. And Hockey Jerk chiming in. Thanks, Jerk. A first for Vasily Kravtsov and a conditional first. And so, for me, I think you're absolutely right. You do start with the first round pick and the conditional, and you kind of work from there. Now, again, there have been a lot of rumors and a lot of talk, and I think, as AJ had highlighted, just about everybody in the league would love a Tomas Hertl. So the more...
like Hertl's going to be like, there's plenty of teams are going to make calls on Tomas Hertl.
Yeah.
I think the team to watch out for is the Avalanche, because this is their last 2 years to make a run at it. So if they really wanted to just go all in like Doug Wilson did with EK, that would be the team I would just keep an eye on to see if they actually do pull the trigger.
Right. And I think, for me, I look at this homestand and the next 4 games after, and we've been talking ad nauseum about it and highlighting that this section is really where it's going to make or break the Sharks. And I don't know. I think I'm still kind of on the fence because I still see that this team is trying, and I think that this team is definitely hanging in the fight a lot longer than I thought they would. But is that enough? And I don't know. And I don't know the answer to that. And I don't even, pretend to know what DW is thinking there. So I think it's really a fluid situation, like I had said before. And I think that, honestly, if you're going to get into the Hertl sweepstakes, it's going to start with a A+ prospect and a first-round pick. And that buys you into the table. And then I think the conversation, kind of goes from there. And, people who saying, I know that we had a couple of, I think it was Eddie in the chat was saying that, they would not trade their number 1 prospect. I don't know, because, a 1A type forward or a 1B type center is very hard to get during the trade deadline. And a guy that is, a rental, yes, but has interest in signing a long-term deal with whatever team he's going to end up with. So I think that there is definitely, I think that there's definitely a premium on him, and I don't think that it's out of the realm of possibility to get an organization's top flight prospect for Tomas Hertl, because you basically have a ready-made, he can be thrust into a 1A, but more suited to be a 1B center.
Yeah, like the biggest issue is that the Sharks right now is just they have most of their division games in March and April. And after that, after they get through that stretch, Sure, we're like, or last 3 months are pretty much all division games, but like if they can't really do anything because they haven't really seen where they're going to be at. I mean, like right now, currently they're sitting at 4th place in the division, but like I don't see them matching up well against Vegas. I don't see them matching up well against Anaheim. And, Los Angeles has kind of surged back in the last 2 weeks. It's going to be tight because I'm kind of assuming Edmonton and Vancouver are going to pop back up. So I think our expectations heading into this season are pretty much going to pan out because of just how the talent is going to showcase for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Ian, I want to make a correction here. Sorry, I got to make a correction here because it is true. It was in the chat and I had to go look it up because I remember they did change a few things when they extended the CBA, and the conditional pick could be for how far the Rangers make it in the playoffs, but it cannot be contingent on re-signing, which is correct. It was a recent change that I have forgotten.
All good.
And yeah, I think that, again, it's going to be a king's ransom if he is going to get traded out of San Jose. I think we've kind of all felt that. And again, I think in the organization, if we're reading the tea leaves and we've, kind of understood where the headspace is of the org at some points, sometimes they make some really stupid decisions. But I think it's probably more apt that they're going to try and make a run to sign him than to trade him. I just feel like they're always been very loyal to their own. And Hertl again is a draftee. Again, a lot of ties to the organization. But again, I think when you're getting dangled a king's ransom for somebody, I think anybody is tradable, right? I mean, Wayne Gretzky was traded, and that's all they say, right? Is that, hey, look, if Wayne can get traded, anybody can get traded. So,
yeah, I mean, it really depends on what the plan is, right? Like, if I don't know how, if you trade Hertl, I mean, you're rebuilding,
right?
Right, and that's the reality of it.
It's a retool, guys. It's a retool.
You can't retool if you trade Hertl. There's no retooling from that. Right, yeah. Like if you're losing Hertl, you're rebuilding, and that's the tricky part, right? Because you don't want to end up in a situation like Detroit did, where it's just one more year, maybe just one more crack. Like if you can't see that this team is not a one more crack team, then you're probably on crack. But
right, exactly. We only pretend on this show. Well, guys, I think that kind of wraps up where we're at with the rumors. Wrapping up, Timo's great season so far and the well-deserved nod for the All-Star break and the All-Star festivities, being our representative. We'll quickly go through the rest of the games tonight. Flyers lose to the Bruins 3-2. The Lightning beat the Canucks 4-2. You've got the Blue Jackets beating up on the Hurricanes 6-0, and that's tough. That's tough, and especially for the Hurricanes, they've been rolling. The Jets beat the Red Wings 3-0. Islanders beat the Devils 3-2. The Blues beat the Kraken 2-1. The Sabres beat the Predators, the Red Hot Predators, actually. So, interesting game out for the Sabres, but 4-1 for the Sabres. You've got the Blackhawks beating the Canadiens in overtime, and the Senators beating the Flames, doing the Sharks some favor, 4-1. Kings, unfortunately, beat the Penguins 6-2, and the Penguins will be the Sharks' next opponent on Saturday. And it's going to be interesting because that was a team that completely steamrolled the Sharks in that first period. I mean, that was shark fin soup we saw in the first period of that game. And we'll see if the Sharks can come out with some, with some revenge vibes or whatever. But I'm not holding my breath, and especially with Evgeny Malkin, seemingly finding the fountain of youth, like it's scary. They're scary good. So guys, I mean, what what's your thoughts on the upcoming schedule and just where the team is at and what we can expect, in these next couple of games on the homestand, Ian?
Pain.
I mean, you do have the Pittsburgh Penguins coming into town, which I think they've been top 5 team for the last 2 months. And they're getting Malkin, and Crosby's showing he's just getting back to normal. Yeah, that team never stops.
Yeah. So pain,
pain. Pain. So what's next? You have, where are we? We're in January.
Los
Penguins.
Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Los Angeles. That'll be a fun game. Seattle. We shouldn't have a problem with Seattle, but then it's Tampa, Washington, Florida, Carolina. Pain.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pain there.
Yeah, a lot of pain. And like I had said, if we could just get through at 500 and just kind of just keep floating, like not even like treading water, but just like skim along the surface, I would be happy with 500.
Yeah. After Seattle, it's Tampa Bay, Washington, Florida, Carolina, Tampa Bay, New York, Islanders. But then that stretch is almost season killing right there.
Yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Well, gents, I think we're wrapping it up for the evening. I'm starting to yawn, so that must mean it's time to hit the hay. But Al, it was great to have you and great to get you on before your next adventure starts up. So we want to wish you the best on the adventure, getting yourself set up. But we know you're ours, so you are coming back. So let the people know what you're doing and where they can find you.
Yeah, like I said before, this is just a temporary hiatus. Moving into an empty apartment, I got to get everything set up. But you can find me on Twitter. I'm always talking hockey. I will probably talk more Atlanta stuff, knowing how things are in my area. But things are not going to stop. I'm still going to be a Sharks fan. I'm not going to be a Thrashers fan anytime soon. I don't think they're coming back anytime soon. But it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you guys, and I will definitely be back pretty sooner than you guys think.
Okay, so we'll just call you on long-term IR.
Ian, I mean, if you want to take my contract off the books, that'd be great.
Yeah, we need some cap relief. Ian, what are your final thoughts and where the people can find you?
I think final thoughts. All things considered, I thought this was actually a pretty entertaining game. There's a lot worse ways to lose hockey games. And this, as far as losses go, I'm not overly offended by it. I think there's pain coming up, though. I'm looking forward to that Kings game because those are always good games, regardless of how good or bad the teams are. Those games always seem to be good. So I'm really pumped for that game. Plus, it's just nice to play, an actual division rival, an actual rival.
Somebody within the
really
Pacific.
Had that this year. I think we had a game against the Ducks.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that game. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I'm looking forward to pain and lots of it.
Well, if you're looking for your dose of Sharks S&M, here you are. As far as where you can find me and what I'm up to, I'm on all the social media garbage using my first name. That's Erik, Erik. Landi, using my last name, Landi. And final thoughts on this one, I kind of echo what Ian's saying. I think it was a hard-fought game, but I think some mental miscues and some lack of execution kind of sunk them. And again, good effort, but need some polish. In case you missed us or you want to catch us again, check us out across all of the podcasting platforms, including Apple, the Google Play Store, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and of course on tealtownusa.com. Check us out. We got some really cool stuff coming up. And you can catch all of our pretty faces on that good site. So, gentlemen, I appreciate it, and have a great one. And let's keep it real. Let's keep it teal. Let's keep it real, Teal. Thanks, everybody, and have a great night.